Hey, listeners, and welcome to the You Are Epic podcast. This is where we honor the people who've helped build not just our industry, but our communities. I'm Angela Hucker, and I am so glad that you're here. So, I'm taking the time to sit down with people who've been in construction for years, people who've been through the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You're going to hear real stories of resilience, growth, and moments that shaped who they are. This podcast is for those that want to learn more from people who've been walking this path for some time, and they're helping to lift up others and quietly making a difference along the way. It's also to show you that your journey matters and your voice matters. And in case you've forgotten, you are epic. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Maria Russo-Fama, State Managing Director for New South Wales and Director of Sales, Strategy and Enablement for PDS across Australia and New Zealand at Cushman and Wakefield. With more than 25 years in construction and property, Maria is a passionate, people-focused leader known for building inclusive, high-performing teams that drive innovation, excellence, and long-term client success. Her career is defined by a relentless commitment to collaboration, growth, and elevating what's possible in the built environment. So, thank you for joining us, Maria. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I feel very privileged to be sitting here having a chat
Oh,
with you today.
the privilege is all mine, trust me. So, now look, what I like to do with all my guests to start the conversation is to find out how did you get started in this environment?
Oh, that's a long, twisted story. So basically, sales is part of my DNA, and I've been in sales a very long time. My husband and I had a joinery business a long, long time ago. We were in that together for a short period of time. My father-in-law was part of that business, and then we went on out on our own, and we had that for 22 years.
Wow.
So yeah, so the construction industry being on site, delivering quality control, in making sure that our clients were satisfied at every point. That was part of what I did for our own business, and then we decided to shut shop. GFC wasn't a particularly good time for us, but I always believe that everything happens for a reason. So that brought me into the head contracting world, which was that was an interesting journey, making the leap from having my own business as a subby, and that had its own challenges, believe me,
Yes.
in that era, and then going into head contracting, which was a very sharp learning curve. It was a very
Oh,
steep
yeah.
one as well. So that was an introduction into a very different level of communication, a very different level of expectation, especially as a female at the time.
Mm.
So I quickly had to navigate that. And I was really fortunate in terms of how I managed to navigate that and find myself amongst some incredible peers, and I was very lucky to stumble across a champion. And that champion was very, very good to me. And I became part of a networking environment that basically has really shaped my career since then.
Mm.
So I've had not only for the construction and industry part of my career, but there's also been that corporate real estate as
Mm.
well. So becoming entrenched in that community and in that networking association, I became chair of that association, went on to be a global board of director for that association as well. And that just really kept my passion growing because I kept learning. So I
Yeah.
was learning all these new skills, even at my age. I was, continuing to learn. I did a master's of corporate real estate and all sorts of things along the way. So really honing my skills, as a servant leader, but
Mm.
also my property skills, my understanding of my clients' needs, so that I could absolutely just keep satisfying their needs, meeting their objectives, and becoming a better all-rounded solutioner, rather than transactional in my approach. So that's how I got here today. I got a lovely tap on the shoulder about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago now, to come across to Cushman and Wakefield, and it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career, where I've been able to bring my whole self to work every single day. And I can't stress how important that is that I am me. I can be as authentic, because I can't be anything else. That's one of my probably my weaknesses, as long as one as well as one of my strengths. I can be authentic, I can be me every single day, and I can bring all of my skills to the table. So nobody's trying to push me into something that I'm not, or mold me, or saying that
Mm,
you can only use this part of your brain or this part of your skill set.
mm.
I've been very, very fortunate and embraced for everything that I bring to the table here, which is very rare in today's day and age.
It absolutely is. And thank you for sharing that. That is such a beautiful journey of what you've had. What I'd love to hear is what helps create that kind of environment that helps you bring your authentic self. Like, what is that environment like? And what is that culture like?
It's interesting. I've pondered on this question many times over the last 4 years, and I think an inclusive workplace where it is led from the top. There is no bias. There is, what we can't see anyway, what we think there is no bias, but I don't feel it. Is that fact that, I'm a female, I'm of a certain age, I sort of thought I would be stereotyped into a particular role or a particular sort of, that have an agenda for me. And that was completely untrue. And in fact, I think that's untrue of the way that we approach our people in this business. We are inclusive. You're accepted for who you are and what you bring to the table. And I think that is something that I've not seen before in other organisations that I've been in or that I've had to do with, is that what differentiates you is embraced.
Mm, I love that.
Yeah, it's just I think that is and I'm certainly a leader that embraces everybody's differences. I actually,
Mm,
for me, recruiting is something that I love doing because it's about understanding the skills that I have and what's going to complement my skills. And it could be a skill that I don't have at all that I'm bringing in, and then I want to take that. I want to take that skill. I want to learn from it. I want to continue to grow. I want my team to be,
mm,
completely well-rounded and having all these different skills, but also thought the way that you think. It's
mm,
not just skill based, it's actually your approach, it's your thought process, it's the way that you look at the world. And having that diverse team and that diverse thought
mm,
process within the team really makes it successful. So you get all these differences of opinion, and I never say no to an idea.
mm,
Um, you go, okay, can we explore that? There's
mm,
no. Let's not stop squashing the no by saying no. So, okay, let me hear you out. Let's see, because out of that one idea, it may not be the right idea, but there's something in there that could
mm,
spark another idea, and then another idea, and then you've got a great solution, or you've got a great solution to a problem that you had. So I think that's um, something that I've been able to really um, enjoy in my time here, is that the fact that we are very, very inclusive.
And I
It's
think
great.
what you've touched on there is something that I really want our listeners to understand is that never saying no to an idea, because firstly, that is actually creating a psychologically safe space that people can put forward an idea because they feel safe to be able to do so, knowing that it's not going to be rejected. Whilst it may not be accepted, it's not rejected, but it actually leads to that innovation that can help create change that's better for the business as well, because it's coming from the front line of the people who are doing the work, understanding the operations, and then putting forward ideas that can actually help make it better.
Absolutely. You kill people's spirit the minute you say no. That
Yeah.
word just kills your spirit, and that want to put forward your idea. So you're right, that innovation is coming from a discussion that you have, that exactly, it may not be the right solution, but it sparks another one. It
Mm.
sparks another discussion. And the more that you pull it apart, the better that solution is, or better that idea is. You can innovate. And I really believe in having, and this might be controversial, I'm not sure, but I, being of a senior age, I want a young leader sitting across the room, across the table from me. I want them to challenge me. I want that idea that they have, because I've been doing things in a particular way for so long that I want to be challenged. I want to know what that innovation, that better thought process, smarter, not harder, all of that they bring to the table is just, it's phenomenal. And
Mm.
when you embrace that, and you've got the grey hair, let's say, that sort of, wants to really pull it all apart with that young, innovative mindset, you get this incredible mix of and balance to be able to create something very special.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I love that approach as well because it's just, as you said, this inclusiveness, it's being embraced fully, where it's allowing people to be able to do this as well.
Absolutely. And I think we have to empower people. We have to empower
Ah,
our people.
yes.
You know,
Yes.
give them that right to speak, to offer ideas. It's incredibly important. We don't want robots. We don't want minions. We want people with with diverse thoughts. With
That's
a
right.
different approach. It's what we need. We need to keep moving forward. We need to keep innovating. Nothing is static. The
No,
world doesn't stand still because we like a process, and it's got to stick to that one. It's very rigid.
exactly. Now, something that you touched on at the start of the conversation was about having peers and how important that was for you at the start of your journey. And you've just said then about having a young leader opposite you as well. So whilst they may be a different generation, they're still a peer because they're a leader as well. But how important is the peers for the industry as well to help, with that inclusivity, to help with culture, to help with innovation, all of these things that we're talking about?
It's so important to have peers, to be part of networking associations, to be able to collaborate, even with your competitors. You need to have a very strong group of peers where you can come together in different forums to discuss things, to bounce ideas, to validate your own ideas as well in some respect. I found that for me, that was very important. I do think a little bit differently. I know that. So being able to not have an echo chamber, to actually somebody that's going to challenge me in a very respectful environment was so important. And it still is today.
Mm,
It is so important that I am challenged, that our leaders are challenged, but again, always respectfully. And I think amongst peers, you to continue to grow because
mm,
otherwise you don't know what you don't know.
correct.
So you're not learning. You just stay in your little bubble, you stay in your silo, you won't advance. It's really difficult to have that mindset of growth if you're only sitting in a particular silo and you don't have that peer group where you can go to and you can go, hey, what do you
Mm,
think? Or actually, why don't we put a panel together and invite a heap of people along and see what they've got to say?
mm.
I think that is just so important. Networking and really developing a peer group is is vital to your career growth.
Absolutely. And it's not just from the career side, but for your well-being as well.
Oh, absolutely. It validates, um, okay, I'll give you an example. Throughout COVID, it was a really challenging time
Mm,
and people were feeling really isolated. And what I did at that time, along with my colleagues in this association, is we opened up airways. So basically, we put meetings in, we opened it up, we allowed people just to join randomly lunchtime. You'd need to have a conversation. But what that did was it validated everybody's feelings so
mm,
that they didn't feel isolated, they didn't feel alone, and
mm,
they could hash out some issues, some challenges that they were having in a very safe environment.
mm.
It's really important to have that safety net around you that
Yeah,
you can go to, that you've got a challenge. Yes, we're all competitors in an industry like this, there's no doubt, but within that we're also people, we're human beings, and you develop those bonds that are
yeah,
so important so you don't feel isolated. Because if
correct.
you head down, bum up all the time and in your little bubble, you you can't get a sense of what's going on out there. So you feel alone and you
Mm,
feel like what you're going through and those challenges are just yours. And they're not. They could be an industry challenge. It could be a sector challenge. It
mm.
could be, a peer group challenge. And just knowing that you're not alone in that is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree about that. Now, I know one of the areas that you're really passionate about is for women in the industry as well, being, obviously a woman yourself and the barriers that you faced. What sort of initiatives are you driving at Cushman and Wakefield to help support women in the industry?
I think one of the things that is really important is returning mothers to the workforce is really important. Um, I've got a couple of ladies in my team and in our business that have come back from parental leave, and it's a really difficult time. It's a really challenging time, especially if the kids have just started daycare. They bring back all these little germs and
Bugs.
things, and they're sick, and the fevers, and it's the sleepless nights. And it's a really difficult time of transition for
Mm,
everybody. I think having that human sense about it, just be human, just be kind, just be
yeah.
gentle, help them through. I always say that it's, if I'm leading the team, it's my responsibility that I've got the backup in the team.
Mm,
You have every right to be a parent and a good parent. And I don't have the right to have demands on you when you've been up all night with a kid with a fever,
mm,
and you've had no sleep either. You're no good to me. You're no good. So just being gentle and humane and kind and really paving the way by giving flexibility. There are some attitudes in the industry that I find that it wasn't easy for me, so why should it be easy for anybody
yeah.
else? Not making it easier. I think we need to really create the path for our women that are coming through the industry, giving them the forum to excel, but also giving them the forum to excel in all parts of their life, not just in their careers. They need, they want to be a mum. They have the right to be a mum, and we shouldn't be stepping in the way of that at all. We need to work with our people to make sure that they've got that balance in their life, and also just making sure that they're in. If they're working really hard and they're progressing,
Mm,
give them the exposure to what they really deserve. Don't hold them
mm,
back because they might go off on parental leave again. That's just rubbish to me. And I do see that, and not here, thankfully, but I've seen it elsewhere. So
mm,
making sure that you are thinking about all of your people, especially your women, even if they are on parental leave, if that promotion is coming up, if there's a spot available in the team, if there's opportunities, make sure that they are considered when you are looking at that org chart or when you're looking at that opportunity. Don't forget them because they're off on leave. That's really important. And just making sure that we are really helping our male champions in the business, our male allies, I should say, in the business. Sometimes we need to take them on the journey. So let's take them on the journey. Don't scold them. Don't have that sentiment of resentment. Bring them on the journey, engage with them,
mm,
take them on that journey, help them. If they don't know, they don't know. And it's a challenging time for them. They're learning as well. It is a new world. You think about them dealing with menopause in the workplace. I mean, that's, the hot flushes and all the rest that goes
yeah.
with it. Just educate them. I'm having a hot flush. It's okay. It'll be over in 5 minutes. Just give
Yeah.
me a minute. It's okay. Your wife will go through this one day too,
One
or
day.
your
Yeah.
partner, etc. So I think we just um, bringing them on the journey is really, really important, and sharing your experiences. So we do a lot of panel discussions, a lot of we have a speaker series where we bring some of our senior women in and some of our account leaders in, where we interview them. We give them the forum to tell us their story, their challenges, and what that does. It empowers every other woman, but it also informs our allies as well in the business of those challenges. So keep that going. That's my recommendation. Just keep that conversation going within your business. Don't stop ever.
And I love that because it's so true because, there's a part there, like particularly for the males, they don't know what we have to deal with as females, but because they're not having to deal with it themselves, of course. But just be open and honest and say, hey, look, I'm having a moment or I've got this issues. And, it's great now that workplaces are a little bit more understanding of women going through menopause and hot flushes and, endometriosis and, people are putting the period products in toilets and stuff as well. So there's a lot more awareness lately, which is great, but there's a lot more that still needs to be done in that space as well. So,
Oh, there's a lot more that needs to be done.
yes.
I think breaking all those taboos, those conversation taboos, we just have to get rid of those. There's nothing as taboo anymore. I think we need to have those really open, robust conversations. And, you know, um, it's normal. This is normal.
Well,
Sisters, mothers, wives, daughters, at some stage you're dealing with this in your life. It's not taboo. This is life.
yeah.
And we bring all ourselves to work. And there's some days are great and sometimes aren't so great, but everybody has the same challenges in their life. Not everyone has a fantastic day every day or has to face a particular challenge. So I think one of the things that I'm really enjoying is the fact that we're seeing a real big take up of men taking parental leave,
Great.
which is fantastic because
Yeah.
they feel that they can. It's not
Yeah.
taboo. So
Yeah.
that shared parenting responsibility,
Yeah.
it's great. And it helps our females. It really does support that if they want to come back to work, there is an alternative.
Mm.
And the fact that those taboos are being broken is just fantastic. But we have
Absolutely.
to keep that conversation going.
And it's letting them know that it's, for them as well, that it's not going to affect your career.
No. Wow, surprise.
I
It
know.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Well, for
affect your
some
career.
companies it doesn't. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, and just making sure that we're really challenging equal pay, etc., all the way.
Mm.
These subjects, we need to talk about them all the time. We need to remind HR. We need to sit there. We need to, really make sure that there are conscious decisions being made, and we don't fall back into any old ways. And I'll
Yeah.
say that with all the respect in the world to the old, but
Yeah. Yeah.
we just need to make sure that we're moving forward all the time. There's a little bit of a propeller behind us that pushes us forward in our thinking
Yes.
and in our attitudes.
And I think with what you're doing and like I love the passion and the energy and everything that you bring to this to be able to help the next generation. What I'd love to know is where does that come from? What has,
Ah,
what kind of barriers have you faced to be able to do this yourself? Because that only comes from your own experiences where it's like, I don't want anyone else to have to deal with this shit.
no, I never want any other female have to deal with this shit. You're 100% right, and I think that's where it comes from. My mother has always really instilled in me that to be courageous, just to have courage, take it. You can do it. You can do it. And it was society sort of says, well, maybe you can't, and then you've got to
Mm.
fight that constantly. You are in a constant battle with society, with what's around you. I mean, I've had challenges on site where I've had other subbies walking off site because I was a female. I've had people say, put your husband on the phone. Really? There are so many things that I've had to deal with. One recently wasn't even to do with business, it was with banking that they decided to put the home loan in my husband's name and me as a subsidiary. So, yeah, you can imagine the letter that I wrote. We've just got to, who made that decision and why? Um, how did you make it? I don't understand it. So I think um, there's challenges that continue to prop up.
Mm.
Even now, I find some of my peer group, not in the industry, but in my age bracket, in my social peer group, it's a bit of a challenge because, you know, are you thinking of retiring as a question? When are you slowing down? It's constant. It doesn't end. And it's like I just and you've got to continually question, am I doing the right thing? Can I continue to move forward? Should I be looking for that next career move? Well, why shouldn't I? Okay, do I need to make way for the younger generation, for the next generation? Absolutely. But my role is to nurture and to bring them through.
Yeah.
I don't have to not look for my own career growth because I've got to give somebody else the opportunity. That's succession planning. That's just normal. That's what we should be doing. It doesn't mean mine stops because somebody else is progressing.
Mm.
But this idea that it should, and it's not from here, not from my organization by any means, like it's outside influences, um, people that are in your ear, and even my own cohort. Um, is like, oh, seriously, aren't you going to slow down? Oh, you do so much travel. Oh, really? What does your husband do when you're away? Oh, do you do all the meals on the weekend? It's like, are you serious?
Oh my
We
gosh.
It's
Wow.
2025. I have to actually, I've got to qualify that. I am from an ethnic background. I'm Italian background. So there's also a social stigma
Yeah.
around a female that's traveling around, gallivanting around, so to speak. So you've got to really deal with that. That's quite interesting in certain circumstances. Whereas I have the full support of my own immediate family. You
Yeah.
know, be courageous. Where are you going next? What are you doing? Off you go. My
Yeah.
husband's incredible. My son, they're proud. They, all right, see you, mum. Yeah, we're good. What do you want for dinner when you get home?
Yeah.
What can we have ready for you? It's a complete um my story is very different because I know that I'm in a very, very fortunate environment, but we've worked together to create that environment. And so we don't let that outside noise affect us.
Mm.
We're partners in life, and that's the way we work. That's the way we live. That's our attitude towards each other. So I haven't had any of those pressures into like from the family, from my own husband and either. So I've been very fortunate in that respect as well. Nothing but encouragement, love and support.
And I think that's awesome to have that. So kudos to your husband and your son for, for being like
Absolutely.
that, being some awesome males in your life to
Oh,
support you to do what you need to do as well. So
my son is 25 and he often hears me talk about some of the challenges. And, if I'm putting together a program for work for WIN, which is our Women in Integrated Networks, and he says, are you really talking about this stuff, Mum? Do you need to? And I go, yeah, it's really important. He goes, but it's 2025. Like, really? I go, yes. Like, that's just the environment that we've created that he doesn't understand that
mm,
there is different perspectives out there and different attitudes. So,
mm,
um, but I think it's really important I'm never take for granted um, how fortunate I am. Um, but I've worked really hard and I've had people around me that have worked equally hard
mm.
to support me. I might add to that, not too many women though, until I got here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how has that looked for you?
It's it's really sad. I think back and I go, I think that's one of my biggest motivators
Mm,
in making sure that I support women is that I didn't have that
mm,
huge or didn't have hardly any support from other women. It was really difficult. It was very lonely at times. I the youngest of three. So I have an older brother. So I've always had really good relationships with men and I know how to communicate. And I'm a bit of a tomboy. So I was very fortunate that I was able to come into this environment and stand. And I'd come from a subcontracting background. So, it was a little bit different for me in terms of being in that arena, but it was difficult and it was lonely. You find
yes.
these particular people that you build bonds with. And most of those women are younger women that I've helped mentor and shape, but equally so they've given me support and love, but not of my own cohort.
Mm, that's interesting. Very interesting. Because I won't disagree with you on that regards. I actually find women have been a lot more destructive than men.
Yeah. It's there's a look, I hate to say it that there's some tall poppy syndrome that happens
Oh
in
yeah.
Australia. I think women can be a little bit we're our harshest critic, but we're also really judgmental on each other. We can be, and I think we need to check ourselves. And I don't know if it's that, especially and I'll talk for myself. I try to fight that as much as I can and challenge that in a very respectful way. I try to do it through kindness,
Yeah.
by being kind, being supportive, inclusive. I think that's the legacy I hope to leave is that being kind and being inclusive is
Mm,
you go home, you put your head on the pillow and you feel really good about yourself. You feel like you've
yeah.
done something well
Yeah.
for that day. Hey, I've made mistakes. You know, not perfect by any
We're all
means, but God
human.
bless. I'm
Yeah.
human. I've had some pretty awful days. But I think going home when I do put my head on the pillow and I don't go to sleep and I'm reflecting on the day,
Mm,
sometimes there's some hard truths that I have to face into.
mm,
And then the next day I want to be better and do something better and make sure that I'm perpetuating the good, creating that legacy, I suppose. That's something that I think I'm passionate about is making sure that I leave this industry, particularly for women, in a much better place than how I found it.
mm,
And all of those attitudes towards women in the industry, that we are in coordinator roles, that, it's a female role and all of those, the BD, it's got to always be a female because, there's a particular sort of stigma around it, breaking those norms.
mm,
And really just making sure that we empower our people to go to be able to challenge it. And I think that's the hardest part is How do they face into it? How do they challenge it? And then how do they shouldn't have to prove themselves if they're doing it.
No,
But
that's right.
it's just, we should be, the people around them should be, around our females should be helping to do that, or should be giving the forum that it's done,
Mm.
it's naturally done.
So, what advice could you pass on to women to be able to, just even that example that you gave about the bank, like to be able to challenge those sorts of behaviors that, I mean, that's obviously a personal issue, but there's obviously a lot of barriers like you touched on that you faced as a woman in the industry, and you don't want other women to deal with that. So, what kind of things could women do to help support themselves in that regards and challenge?
Allyship. I
Yeah.
think allyship is huge. You need to, I think it's really important to create those allies in the industry, but also in life. I think challenging the norm, like I was straight onto the bank and went, seriously? Are you kidding me? And then I made it public. I wasn't impressed at all. Um, I think just assuming um, is just the biggest thing that we really need to challenge the assumptions.
Mm,
And my advice would be challenge. Don't be afraid. Have the courage to stand up for yourself. Have the courage to bring people on your journey as well. Um, and I know that that's easier said than done. Some people are just, it can be really difficult to have those conversations, but find yourself a mentor, find yourself somebody that is going to support you, stand by you, and at sometimes even champion you. I know that you're supposed to have the three different people in your life. Sometimes they're all that, they're just one person and all
mm,
of that is wrapped into that person. But I do highly recommend that you find people and really build those relationships and those rapports that you can have those conversations. Get yourself on mentoring programs.
mm,
Make sure the mentorship it fits. It's got to go both ways. I think that's really important because you've got so much to give. I think that's one of the misconceptions is in that mentor relationship,
mm,
it's both ways. And it has to be both ways. So that's how you really build the rapport and the strength to be able to confront things together as well. So
mm,
that for me is probably my biggest piece of advice
mm.
is find your tribe.
Find your tribe. Yeah.
Find your tribe. Be
And
courageous and find your tribe.
I love the being courageous part. Yeah, absolutely. So what about with women wanting to move into leadership positions? Because that's always a lot harder.
We had this conversation the other day about being passionate versus being emotional. And
You might have been having a hot flush though, so that's allowed.
I am unashamedly passionate. And I will call you when you say, oh, you're a bit emotional. Well, you know what? No, I'm passionate. So if a
Yeah.
male was being passionate, he wouldn't be called
Yes.
emotional. He'd be
No.
called strong. And look at him. He's sticking to his guns here and he's bringing it all, he's bringing it all with him. You know what? The labels that we get,
Oh.
challenge those labels non-stop. Don't
Mm.
stop challenging the labels. I am passionate. I am not. And now I've lost my train of thought on the actual question. Sorry,
About
Angela.
the women in leadership.
Oh, women in leadership is just we are great leaders. We women are very good leaders because we do have, and I'm now probably being a little bit generic in saying that or discriminatory in saying that we're more empathetic, but I think the stats are there. I think we bring empathy to the role. We bring a different side, nurturing, not mothering, and I think that's one of the things that we need to be aware of. That people again another label. Oh, you're mothering. No, I'm just nurturing. I'm making sure
Mm.
that you have everything that you need to bring your best self to work
Mm.
and do the job that we've asked you to do or that you've committed to do.
Mm.
That's not being a mother. That's just making sure I'm doing the right thing as a leader, empowering my people. I think that journey into leadership is learn by example, look at your leaders, really dissect what style works, doesn't work, how you feel about that.
Mm.
Grow your skills, grow your knowledge. I know that I'm a servant leader. That's just my style. I know that. And I embrace that. And sometimes I need to change my style according to the situation. It doesn't come easy, but I've learnt skills on how to be able to shift. And I think that's, how to be agile in that leadership as
Mm.
well. I think that's really important. So ask your organization to help you with some leadership if that's what if you want to go into a leadership role. You can take on projects, you can demonstrate your leadership in smaller projects, you can build, you can have the courage to put your hand up, because
Yeah.
that sometimes is the biggest barrier, is that a
Yeah.
leadership position comes up, you don't put your hand up because you're not ticking all 100 boxes out of 100, you're only ticking 30. That's okay, put your hand up.
Mm.
What can happen? They'll say no. Okay, why did you say no? Because you need to develop X, Y, and Z. Well, go off and develop X, Y, and Z, and then
Mm.
go back and put your hand up again.
Mm.
So keep developing those skills. It's leadership is a bit of a muscle. Being able to read the room, able to read your people, to get the best out of your people, and really, we kind of call it a little bit ahead of vibe here a bit. So it's making sure that you are really self-aware
Mm.
as well, because your ripple effect is huge,
Huge.
huge. I
Yep.
walk in, if I'm all busy and flustered, that's going to perpetuate. Everybody else around me is going to go, oh, here she is. What's going to come with it today? If I walk in calm, I understand what my ripple effect is going to be. If I want to bring people on the journey, get everybody hyped up, I've got to come in with energy. I've got to
Yeah.
lead by example.
Exactly.
So knowing yourself is really important. Knowing the skills that you need to develop is really important. And just being, I think, understanding that sometimes we need to shift too. So we can't
Yeah.
be rigid.
Yeah.
So I think
Absolutely.
that's really important. And again, courage. Courage
Yeah.
is just like, that's the word.
It's like the glue that keeps it all together, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a servant leader, which you've acknowledged. What do you think are the three top qualities that leaders need today?
Courage.
Courage. Yep.
Courage as always. Because sometimes you've got to make some really hard decisions.
Oh, yeah. Or
You've
have
got to
hard
make some,
conversations.
exactly. Resilience. I
Mm.
think building that resilience, your bounce back time. So how long does it take you? Because the blows come. That's just part of life. And you've
Yeah.
got to stand up, and you're a leader. So what's your bounce back time? Because you've got to lead your people. You can't sit in it.
Mm.
So, because if you sit in it, they're going to sit in it for twice as long, because that's your ripple effect, more than
Mm.
likely.
Yeah.
So, what's your resilience? How do you work on that? Again, for me, that's a muscle that you've just got to go, okay, that's enough. I said something happened yesterday, and we're all ruminating and going on about it this morning. I said, that's enough. Stop. Everybody, we need to stop. Okay, what's next? We've pulled this apart. We've gone around it. We've not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's find what that one thing was that we could have done better. Let's concentrate on that, and let's move forward.
Mm.
So, that shifts everything. Being able to know that switch point is really important. And that's resilience, because that's my
Yeah.
own bounce back time.
Yeah.
I had to kick in and go, okay, everybody, settle now, enough. We've got to bounce back now. Um, and I think um, really, I suppose the others, what would I say my third skill as a leader is that empathy.
Mm. Mm. Love it.
An empathetic leader knows when to encourage, knows when to put something to bed, knows how to develop. You've got to have that empathy. It's almost like, being able to read the room.
Yeah. And being able to sense if someone's off as well and
Oh,
how to approach it.
100%.
Mm.
You've got to be that, you've got to be a mood changer. You there are so many things that are wrapped up in that
Oh, yeah.
one word, because you want people to thrive. That
Yeah.
is your role as a leader. Your people to thrive. You need to meet your business objectives. So we're here. We're part of business. That's what we do. It'd be great if we weren't, but we do need to meet. At the end of the day, we need to make sure our business thrive so our people can thrive, and
Mm.
vice our people thrive, and then our businesses thrive. So it's all related. So if
Correct.
we miss that one part of that, it just doesn't work. Um,
And it's that
so we
ripple
can
effect again, isn't it?
exactly.
Mm. If your people
So
aren't thriving, they're not contributing to the business, which means the business isn't thriving, which then affects profits. Like it's just this goes on and on and on. So yeah,
it's just, yeah, absolutely. And
yeah,
then eventually somebody loses,
yeah,
because if the business can't support you, then, you fall out of the wheel.
yeah.
Bang, the next one will go, and then the next one, and then you have high turnover in staff. You're fighting, you're always fighting, you're always chasing, and you can never enjoy and never build, because
Mm,
all you're doing is chasing, chasing, chasing,
mm. Or
and nobody.
replacing.
Oh, and that is such an expensive and disruptive, and you as a leader, for me, I really take that personally, because it means that I haven't they haven't been able to see the value that they bring, or how much we value them as well. So that's
Mm,
really important. I take that really personally. If they're
mm,
leaving because they're not happy and something else is better. So sometimes there are extenuating
mm,
circumstances, there's personal circumstances that come into play. But if somebody leaves because they're just not happy, then I take that really personally, and I see that as a failure on my part.
mm. And not many people, unfortunately, these days look at it through that same lens.
I got a few years on a lot of people, so I sort of see things, and I'm quite open with myself and quite brutal in my own judging of the Maria. And so I think taking that accountability and always looking for how I can do things better. Yeah, I'm really hard on myself. Sometimes that's exhausting as well. But I have a responsibility, and I was a business owner as well.
Mm.
So I had my own business, and those lives, those livelihoods,
Oh
they
yeah,
were my responsibility.
yeah.
Every week they depended on that salary to drop in. They needed to feed their family, they needed to pay their mortgage, etc. They needed to be happy because they needed to thrive, so I could make the money to do that, etc. So I think, when you see how it all fits in from a very, very personal perspective, you're
Mm.
in it, you're in the thick of it, you know, um, it's my responsibility.
Mm. And I love that you look at it that way because this is what we need in leadership today is people realizing it is their personal responsibility because you're actually here to show people, what to do and what path to walk and do it in a way that actually sets them up for success so they can thrive.
I think it's you can't be what you can't see.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm in a very privileged position, especially in this organization. I'm in the state managing director role. I see that as it's a highly visible role. So there's a lot of people in New South Wales that I lead. And it's a bit of a head of vibe sort of scenario. But if I am not leading with grace, with empathy, with courage,
Mm.
I can't expect my people to do the same. Like
Mm.
that's just how. It's not, it's just not fair. It's not right. So I need to do that. And there are like some days it's hard to be on.
Oh yeah.
That's something that I learned very early in sales. It's hard to be on all the time. So
Yeah.
know when you're not on.
Yeah.
You need to either be able to flip it or take yourself out of it.
Mm.
Go back and fill your cup somewhere,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
know when your cup needs filling.
Yeah. Be aware of that so that you're not projecting that onto others as well.
Hmm. Absolutely.
But what you said about you can't be what you can't see, sort of thing, it's about, it's up to the leaders to model the behavior that they want their staff to exemplify as well. So,
Absolutely. You got to lead from the top.
yeah,
That's something that I've always said. Not that I think that I'm at the top, but I'm in a very privileged position that I am out there. Um, but I have to lead from that. I have to lead by example.
yeah,
I have to live and breathe the values of this organization every single day. I need to stay true to my integrity, which thankfully is aligned with the values of this business. I need to make sure that I'm living and breathing that every single day, because I want to go home to my family, and I
mm,
want to go home knowing I've been a decent human all day.
mm,
I've been a good human. And I'm going to stuff up. I'm going to bugger it up. There are days, you just do, but you got to own it. You got to stand up and own it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and there are days where I go home and, I'm not. great. Um, but I'll say to the family, I just give me 10. I just need to go away. I'll sit on
Mm.
my little balcony and just breathe and rock back and forth as I
Yeah.
do. Sometimes you go, okay, it was
Yeah.
a big day.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Um,
it's good that you're able to recognize that. That's the thing. And to know, like, when you've had a bit of a tough day or, when a bit of self-reflecting that you do as well. And, even what you said earlier about you put your head on a pillow at night and you're sort of thinking about things, okay, tomorrow I've got to do better. Like just that constant self-reflection, I think is really vital as well for that continued success and improvement.
oh, absolutely. Just being able to look, you've got to hold yourself to account. You as a leader, you're holding people to account all the time,
Oh,
mate.
yeah.
You don't get away with not holding yourself to
It
account.
starts with you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you come from an from an Italian background, there's a lot of guilt that's in your life.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So you're born and raised with guilt. So you've got to hold yourself to account. You get that guilt, but you've got to rise and you've got to go, okay, now I've got to pull through this and I've got to make sure that I'm moving forward and I don't sit in it. But I've got to use it for good. And it's hard. It's not easy. Sometimes you want to ignore some of that stuff. You
Oh, yeah.
go, but there's always, I always say there's always a mirror there somewhere. Someone's going to give you a mirror or somebody's going to act the way you did, and
Yeah.
that's your mirror. And you go,
Yeah.
oh, that, that's a bit of a mirror.
Yes.
Ouch. Ooh,
And I
that hurt.
always say the people who are brought to us who challenge us is because it's showing us there's some behaviors that we probably need to address and change ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And look, there's some have fun. That's you've got to have fun with that as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
there's lots of comical moments in my day with my peer leadership team here because we are a bit of a mirror to each other, which is fantastic.
yeah.
But it's done always respectfully, but it's with a bit of comedy as well. So you sort of go home, you go, "Yeah, that was funny, but
But
yeah, I get the message. It's good.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay."
yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, and you got to have fun because life's too short and it's, why be serious all the time? You got to be able to laugh and have fun and, you know, move through things quickly as well. Don't stay stuck in the mud with it.
No. And look, there are times where I have to remember, oh, wow, should I have been on the podium at that particular karaoke event that was a work? Oh, well, I'll do it. I'm having fun. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing anything wrong. But
No.
you've got to have fun. You got to go, you got to get those endorphins,
Oh yeah,
make you feel good.
absolutely.
Give the
Absolutely.
get a compliment, give a compliment, um, you know, tell people how much they're valued. It comes back to you in spades because, they feel good, they make you feel good. There's a little bit of selfishness in there that, you feel good about doing the right thing. Yeah, you do. Um,
Mm,
but you've just empowered somebody to be even better.
correct. Correct. No, I love that. I love that. Incredible. Just incredible. Now, in closing, what I'd love to ask you is if there's one thing that you could say to people about life or leadership or being a woman in this industry, whatever it is, where you've always gone, I just wish I had the opportunity, I could say this to someone, and it could be a quote, a phrase, a sentence, a word, whatever it is. What's that one thing that Maria would like to pass on to people as Maria's words of wisdom?
There's probably three things I'll say in that. Be
Okay.
courageous,
Yeah.
be authentic.
Yes.
You get found out.
Yeah.
Courageous, authentic, and kind.
Yeah. I love it.
You know, it's it's not hard.
It's not hard, yet people still struggle.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome. There's a lot of expectations. There's a lot of things that happen around that. Um,
Mm,
but being authentic means you're staying true to who you are,
mm.
and that's so important.
Yes.
Um, Stay true, be authentic, give yourself as the authentic you, um, and people are drawn to that and will
Mm.
help you and want to be in your space because that authenticity just speaks volumes. But you've got to have courage to be
To
authentic
be
too.
authentic. Exactly. And
Yeah.
being authentic also goes with being kind as well. So,
Yeah. Because it shows vulnerability.
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have this conversation with you, and I really appreciate your time and all the wisdom that you've shared and hearing about your incredible journey and what you're doing now and the legacy that you want to create. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing to help young leaders in the industry and to help support women and create just better environments and better workplaces where you work as well. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing to make a difference.
Thank you. I really am privileged to be part of this series. I really am grateful to you to give me this opportunity to speak today as well and share my story. And hopefully it helps somebody along the way, even if it's just the word courage that sits in their mind.
Yes.
Um, I know I repeated it a few times, but yeah, it's so important. But thank you. I really appreciate it, Angela.
Oh, my honor. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope this conversation gave you something that you can